tell them who we are, what we're about?
My name is Susan Allen. Good evening. And this is?
Michael Koran.
And we are going to be here tonight discussing whatever it is we discuss.
No, it's going to be poems.
No, we're going to be discussing poems.
Yes.
Okay.
And the show is called Aha,
Yes.
which means?
I wanted to call it As Humans Are, but it's not.
No, it's a human among humans. And I'm getting there, finally. I got in touch with the little child that's
Well, I just proved that
screaming. The screaming, you understand these things. The screaming child that does
I
not
do.
want to have surgery. No! Who didn't want tonsillitis operation when he was 3. It's helpful to get in touch with who you are, however long you've avoided it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm really glad to be here tonight.
that's good.
And I don't know how anybody else feels, but I certainly am through with the cold weather. It seems every time I walk out of my house, I feel like I want it to be warm. And it's not.
I thought you deal with life as it is, I thought.
You know, it's been a long, long winter, and there's a part of me that feels like I would love just a little bit of reprieve.
We had a little
Just a
niceness,
little bit
I think, a
of
few
warm
days.
weather.
Yes, we had a little.
I think it'll come this week, I really do.
We don't have spring in Massachusetts.
do.
It's winter and summer.
So tell me about your little child.
I did.
Oh, okay. All right. So, as you may know or may not know,
Hi, Columbia.
hi, Michael has been writing poetry books forever and ever, writing poetry.
Everybody's got their hobbies. As my brother would say, some people like to play Scrabble, some people like to write. My dear beloved brother, who the last time I performed a one-person show, right before the show in someone's garden, said, "How long will this last?" He's a great guy. I don't want to give out his name, even though he's my brother. Protect the
Tonight, anyway.
innocent. Yes, I love being brother, actually.
Yeah, well, everybody has their way, don't they?
Yes.
It's great, except when they get in your way, which is your way. Tonight we're going to be doing some poetry, and it's going to be Michael's poetry. And what am I doing here?
That's a good
Well,
question.
you ask, what am I doing here? I am Michael's voice teacher. He has selected me when he was losing his voice. When? November?
For about the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And it's better. She's good. She's very good. We're not allowed to advertise, but she's very good. Susan Allen.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Very good. I can talk now. Although until my voice starts slurring again from my
But I have to say
new
something.
challenge.
Michael wanted to learn. There's a big difference with people who want to learn.
Well, if
it's
you can't talk, it's a definite incentive.
Well, yeah, but there are lots of barriers to learning.
Yes.
Let's face it.
Yes.
So, you know, this was an incredible student. Not only is he an incredible poet and
Can't
teacher.
trust us. I keep telling you. You see, I
Don't
keep
say
telling
that.
you how great she is, and she's telling you how. You
Yeah.
Be suspicious. Buyer beware.
So I'd like to get into this poetry
Yes.
because
yes,
we
enough
have
of this banter. Yes.
enough of this banter.
Yes.
I love a lot of these poems, and he's picked, wow, you've picked some I don't even know yet. Okay. What would you like to do, Michael?
Well, why don't you pick one? Well, we should do it in order. Freed greed. This is, we did this before, but we can do it again.
Okay.
I guess I should read it first. We've discovered that. Freed greed. Yeah. Oh, and we discovered that I discovered with Michael Mack, whose show we're going to take over. Sorry if you folks you'll miss the great Michael Mack. We'll do the best we can. He has a high bar. But we discovered that when we do this, we should have a question beforehand. So how has your greed been treating you? And how have you been treating your greed?
Well, I'm not in touch with it right now. I'm sure that I have it, but I'm not.
It's not it's not a living question at the moment.
Yeah, it's not connecting with
For me, I have too much. By the way, I think we talked about it.
Oh, we did. We talked about
to be
it.
creative, and and it takes you over,
right,
and
that's
you
right.
don't. It
That's right.
ruins your life. But other than that, it's fine.
Right, I'm not connected with
Yes.
it right now.
So tell us. You hid from it. You see, that's what we do. That's why we're here to help people who are hiding. So tell us about your greed, Big Shot, who doesn't have it.
Well, now I'm connected with it.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to speak in parts because that's how I speak. There's a part of me that feels and felt that it was necessary to prove myself in the creative arts. And that took place in singing. And that happened quite extemporaneously. I was in high school. I always loved the sound of my voice since I was 4. I remember singing, walking in the woods. I remember humming tunes. I remember singing to the birds. I remember all of those things. I remember the feeling of that. And I was taught never to like the sound of my own voice.
How can people teach you that?
Well, they tell you to stop singing. They tell you to tone it down. I remember my first grade teacher, when I was singing with a group of people, I remember her saying, you're singing too loud. Curb it and get in with the others.
That's not liking the sound of your voice. It's just keeping things under control.
And it shocked me as a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old. It shocked the living daylights out of me. I felt ashamed around my other people. I felt like it was like a javelin inside of my gut, inside of my heart. And I stored that. That was one of the traumas that I stored. And yet, it propelled me because I loved the sound of my own voice. I loved the vibration of it, and I loved to play in the sound. It actually set up this either or. It propelled me into proving that she was wrong. And my mother did the same thing. She was so busy surviving that she did not pay attention to anything that my sister and I might do in the arts. You know, we were children, and they were taking care of children. They weren't interested in initiating lessons or anything like that. So as I started, my mother did not help me to nourish that part of myself. And so what happened to me, and maybe some of you can relate to this, is that I had this yearning inside, this feeling, this central feeling of my own essence. It's taken me a lifetime, maybe many lifetimes, but this lifetime, my own essence of who I really am, of who I purr, how I purr when things are right.
She thinks she's a cat.
Good.
She discovered who she really is, and her name is Cleo. It's taken a whole lifetime to discover. In this show, A Human Among Humans, we finally have someone who's discovered that she's really a cat. And it's been very comforting, I bet.
Actually, that's not far from the truth. I mean, if you can find out, a cat always lands on its feet, doesn't it?
So they say.
So they say. I've watched it happen many a time. So I like that analogy, where a cat is just comfortable within itself. You've heard that cats really take over the
I
home.
hope you're not holding with bated breath to get to our first poem, but Susan's very interesting.
So, thank you, Michael. Thank you. So, you talked about feeling connected with this greed, and so there were lots of things inside of me, little tangles, little threads, that propelled me to want to excel. One of those was the ignoring that my parents did of me. They virtually ignored me. Now, it might have been that I was a precocious child, and they said too many don'ts. Don't.
W.H. Auden, the great poet, said the recipe for creating an artist is to give a child as much neurosis as they could bear. And here we are. Our parents
Here
did
it
a
is.
great job.
Yeah,
They get paid time and a half for overtime.
that's very true, Michael.
Yes, so
That's incredibly true.
Auden is smart.
Okay, so, but along with that is this kind of suffering. You know,
That's part of it.
That's part of it. You feel like
Where would we be as artists? Life is very nice and we love you. That's my poem for today. I hope that you can all relate to that.
I'm so glad that I have a good sense of humor, because I think Michael's laughing at me right now. Okay, so he's just told me that I just became the definition of an artist growing up, and I
Yes.
really like that.
Yes.
Because right now, where I
Honor our
am,
parents. Thank you, Evelyn and Charles, and your parents' names.
Bruce and Amy.
Bruce and Amy did a great job in creating a very good music teacher and a singer. We might, if we're lucky, if we can ever get
Her to
find
stop
out
talking.
find out about how Susan relates to greed. Now we have to go through another 50 years. Don't go away. We haven't reached the 3rd grade yet.
Okay, so fast forward. Okay, fast forward.
To the 2nd grade, probably.
No, that's backward.
Oh, I see.
That's
4th
not
grade.
forward.
Fourth grade, yes.
Okay, so it set up an insatiable need to prove myself. And I think whether that's music or singing or art or sports or whatever, but it was an insatiable need. And I found out deep down inside that I really wanted to show my parents.
Well,
I wanted to show them, I'll show you. It was a deep-seated anger. I'll show you.
we haven't got to greed yet. We've got anger.
I'll be
Revenge.
better than you ever thought I was,
Revenge.
because
You
you have
are already.
ignored me.
Yes.
And I'm going to overturn that. And I'm going to become a Metropolitan Opera star.
Oh,
So among the most impossible things that you could ever imagine that you could do, that would be,
well, some people do.
oh no, and I was going to be bigger than Pavarotti.
Me too. I wanted to be a great messianic leader. And now I think that if I could be a Messiah lit, little itsy. But that makes sense. If the lower you are, the larger you want to be.
Wow.
Okay, so that was your greeds. We actually have an answer.
Yeah, yeah.
That was your greed, and how are you handling it this week?
So I have never seen so many cop cars around today.
That's how you're handling it?
No. I just saw a police car go
We're now
careening down.
halfway through the show. We have not got to the question related to the first poem yet.
Okay, so how I'm relating to it. Okay, I am able, through much inner listening and outer search, I am able to turn to the parts of me that took me over. In other words, I was living very uncomfortably at the age of 60, 50, 50, 60, I was living uncomfortably. I was living out of parts, huge parts that were taking me over.
I don't think we're going to ever get there, folks. How are you
And-
related to? I think I'm going to give up the question. This is very interesting, and you'd be a gold mine for a psychotherapist. You could just go there, and you're supposed to speak for an hour. So we have no. I'm trying to find out.
So now I'm able to
You
turn
could
to
say
those
something
parts.
like you
okay.
could say something like, "I wanted ice cream. I was greedy, and I couldn't handle it." But no, we are going to get the history of when ice cream was invented. So we do not have an answer. It is now 18 minutes into the show.
Okay, so just fast forward
I
again.
thought we did fast forward. Don't believe her.
I know.
We're fasting forward to the 5th grade. So we can't get an answer. The greed is coming out. The greed to tell long stories. I've got my answer. So be quiet now.
Okay.
So she's got a greed to tell. It comes out very charmingly, but it is a great. It's because it's uncontrollable too. It's not unmanageable, as we've discovered. So now we have, the question is how to handle greed. And this is my tiny little poem of just a few syllables.
Now we're going to find out the answer, the
Well,
real answer.
Well, this is my greed too, and I'm getting closer. My greatest greeds, dance and song, like you probably, gracefully all day long, feeling touched by all I touch. Is this asking for too much? Seems nice to me. And freed greed, my greatest greed, I wonder if it's greed anymore. My greatest greeds, dance and song, gracefully all day long. Wouldn't that be nice? Feeling touched by all I touch. Is that asking for too much? That's a question. What do you think?
Let me read that. My greatest greeds, dance and
We can
song.
read the title too.
Freed greed.
Thank you.
My greatest greeds, dance and song, gracefully all day long. Feeling touched by all I touch. Is this asking too much?
Is this asking for too much?
Is this asking for too much? Greed wants to dance and sing all day long. That's what I get from this.
Well, that's my greatest greed. I have other greeds, like being an opera singer and performing at the Met. But the deepest greed, and I wonder if it's even a greed, is I like to dance and, it is a greed because I can't, but to dance and sing all day long. Although, even if I'm quietly moving and aware, as we learned on this program, of the prosody in my words, so I can hear the music even in a little sentence. And so I think that's the deepest greed, is to just be in a musical comedy or a musical tragedy. Day by day.
But I feel like the greed has transformed in this poem. I mean, these are not finite, feelings are not finite. I mean, they can transform, they can expand, or they can contract. I mean, there's a feeling of, to me, in this poem, that you're actually loving the greed.
Yes, I think that maybe greed if maybe, I can even do that greedy though. I can get too unhappy if I don't feel that. I mean, that's a lovely feeling. If we can feel we're in a musical comedy or a musical tragedy, even a musical tragedy might be nice, right? There's a place for us. And that was a sad West Side Story.
Yes, it was.
But it would be, I would love to do that. I forget, I need these poems, they're almost like prayers. I would love to know that that's more important than writing my poem, than making my salmon. That I would like to, I think, but that could be greedy too. It could be, oh, I'm not doing it, instead of being lightly aiming for it.
Yeah, but you're saying there's something wrong with greed.
This great greed might be a little bit better, but maybe even that greed is, it would be nice to, this greed says, my greatest greeds dance and song gracefully all day long.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like this part of you. I mean, do people believe in getting their heart's desire? I mean, there's lots of wishes that we would have.
You know, I get better, different than I think, but better. Including talking to you, Columbia. I never thought, I of course wanted to be a television star. By star, I mean on at least a local channel that pays me $5, and there's maybe 2 viewers. But it's much better. This is way better. I mean, we've got Columbia. Well, who could ask for more? And Janet might be watching.
And there's Barbara.
And Barbara might be watching. Wow, I mean, we're gifted, but to really take it in is, instead of a lot of numbers and so on. So I get more than my heart's desire, but different than way different, in a different package than I thought.
So to me, this looks into, I'm going to go back to the poem. This poem looks into greed in a very different way. It says, I want the good thing that I feel. I want the dance and song. I want it. I need it. I need it so much that I'm greedy for it.
And I'd love to have it be number 1 greed, rather than the other things that I want. I would love that if I could dance and sing all day. I think, at least this poem says that. If I could, just be aware, because we're really always dancing. We're dancing now, even though we're sitting. We're moving a little bit. Mm-hmm. You might be, if you're aware, even breathing. And as we discovered on this show, and as Susan's such a good music teacher, it's harder to see it in English, but if you're speaking Spanish, you can hear the music, or Italian. In English, it's a little harder, but in English, it's a little harder. That's a little song in itself, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We call it prosody. Mm-hmm. Forgive us the fancy word. We could call it just the music in your everyday language, right?
He calls it prosody. I call it prosody.
Yes, but either one is too fancy a word for me. Just the music in our language.
How do you say potato?
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm hungry, though. So that's what this is. I mean, and we could, if we're just going to pay attention to the music. So I'm going to read this one more time at least, if you can bear it. We have only 1.5 minutes to go. But we're going to be back. Don't be sad. We'll be back for another half hour. I'm counting on you, Columbia. Okay, so we can pay attention to the music in this. Freed greed. Freed greed. So maybe the greed will be freed and, as you said, become something else.
Transform.
My greatest greeds, dance and song. So that has a little music in it. My greatest greeds, dance and song, right?
Yes.
You've taught me that. Gracefully all day long. So we could turn that into a little song, right? My greatest greeds, dance and song, gracefully all day long, right? That was just beginning to be, it sounds better that way.
It does.
Feeling touched by all I touch. Is this asking for too much? See, you've taught me how to do this, and it actually sounds nice to me, at least.
And
to you. I hope to you, Columbia. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back in 3 minutes for the God Talk, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Boy, that was great.
Growing up with a single mother in Brooklyn, New York,